And welcome to the No Subtly Required podcast, a podcast where we talk about nothing. And yeah, with a special podcast and special announcement, you don't have a trio of hosts. We are missing one Audrey sus as hell Ember, but instead you will have, of course, your Dark Lord of the interwebs, Roberto Blake, your hostess with the mostest, Romina with the good hair, but we will have special guest, Chef PK, anime cook extraordinaire, and of course, everyone's favorite friendly neighborhood YouTube expert, the one and only Daryl Eves. Welcome to No Subtly Required podcast, filmed in front of a live YouTube audience. Please like, subscribe, and review. Yeah, so that's my fake announcer voice.
Amazing.
I don't even know what to say about that. Like, seriously.
that just came out so flowy and naturally.
Well, he does this every week.
Okay, that's fair.
Every week. And it's always something different too.
Yeah, it's like I literally have a fake announcer intro voice every week. That. Like I just do a whole different bit every week. So
yeah, I don't even have like labels or banners on StreamYard for it. Like I can't keep up.
No.
Well,
and I give Romina and Audrey new nicknames every week too.
That's a lot of brain power for me. I'd probably default to like just getting a recording going and hit the button and just let it play.
No, that's
here you go, guys. Yeah.
no, he would go like this. Are we live?
Yeah, are we live?
Right. Like,
we're good. Okay,
live?
Yeah.
I think we're live. I don't know if we're live or not, but yes.
Bruh. It's a good thing to keep in mind for my future podcast.
We'll also have a soundboard to like have a special effects because I have like all these different sounds. So
I like it. I'm down. There better be some anime sound clips there. Like Goku or something. Yeah. No, perfect. See, there it is. It's like the default for YouTube. I love it.
Indeed. Speaking of YouTube, I want to talk to you guys about the Creator Academy and why no one has to be a starving artist anymore. Does anyone want to start with any thoughts they might have on that?
I have a lot of thoughts on that at the kind of like
where do we start?
Right.
Well,
like,
let's prompt you. Yeah. Why do you think today, with all the opportunities availed to people, that we still have people who are starving artists? Why is that? Why do people still insist on being starving artists with all the opportunities available to them right now?
Because it's comfortable.
It could be comfortable to just be the starving artist. I guess
it's comfortable to starve.
It's comfortable to not have to change anything about yourself and then suffer and then claim nobility in your suffering.
Exactly. You don't step out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm. I think that's probably the biggest thing. Like somebody who went to I went to art school, went to culinary school. You would see a lot of people who just, never kind of climbed up the culinary ladder and never tried to like manage a hotel, because where the money is in culinary really is managing hotels and doing all that other stuff. So a lot of people would go to culinary school and then they would just go like work in a restaurant line for, a few years and like, oh, there's no money in it. I'm like, well, you never really tried to like move up. If you just want to work as a line chef, that's great. Like I hired them all the time, but the starving artist thing is I don't buy into that anymore, especially like after doing YouTube for a couple of years now. Like there's always a way of, you don't want to monetize everything. Like you guys probably know, you don't want to monetize everything because then everything becomes work, but at the same time, like I have people who I will commission for artwork. Like, oh, I don't know what to charge you. I'm like, charge me your rate, like give me a rate. I will pay you for your time. And I always make sure they're paid out. I even offer artists all the time. Like I'll give you a cut of sales because I know you don't ask me for enough half the time. So I think it really comes down to is trying to blend the business side with the art side, and it's like YouTube, you just have to try to blend them together. And sometimes the business side takes over, but you'll still have that artsy side to it. And I think like for someone like me, I've realized it, especially in the middle of my YouTube journey where, I'm technically like a middle-class creator, and I made like less per hour last year than I would working for a hotel. Right. But I'm not like starving for it. I've learned how to kind of just like make my business work. But I don't really buy into the starving artist thing. I think you just have to learn new skills.
Why do people refuse to evolve like you did, and why do they remain starving artists? What's the mentality there?
It's hard. It's legitimately breaking the mold.
I want to interject something. So yeah. I think a lot's changed over the years, right? Mm-hmm. It's like literally has changed. As where it first started was when YouTube actually started monetizing and then sharing that money with creators, which was a huge thing. That was 2007. And a lot of people are like, you're selling out, man, you're selling out. And that's where it was, are you a sellout versus the other? And then you have the purists. It's like, I'm only in it for the art, right? Well, those guys are gone. That you can't find them online anymore.
Oh,
you
yes,
watch their videos.
Well, no, I mean, the guys who tried to do that are gone, but like actually have a new crop of creators that whine about being starving artists and are purists. YouTube used to be about art. You're all sellouts now.
Let's put a reality check on it though. But what was going on is those people that were in for the art, they didn't make enough money at all to make that art go further, and they're gone. And I'm telling you, one of the main reasons why I started Vid Summit was there's all these content creators that were coming in that didn't understand the business side. I'm like, man, we need to teach them the business side and the true opportunity and the power of what's going on here, and really go from there. Because I've seen a lot of my friends that were creators that were really, really, really talented that really missed the mark because they didn't really optimize their opportunity on the business. And so I totally think that we're a totally different we're on a totally different bar, because the YouTube creators are coming on now. They're like, how do we make money? You have TikTokers that are like, dude, I got the views. What do I need to do to make the money? Where do they go?
I love
YouTube.
that.
And
I
so
love that we're moving in that direction. But what about the holdouts?
Well, let's just say the holdouts will always do what the holdouts do. They just won't be around. Just like, if you don't make money, you don't. You just like you really look at it. Let's just use art as an example. Some of the most valuable art the artist never made, and that's where the starving artist ever came from. Well, now NFTs. This guy made like $1 bazillion on his art. It's just like, yeah, for sure. And it's just like you make all this money. It's just like, hey, how do you capitalize on it? And yes, maybe you don't want to create the art for the nature of money, but you want to create, and that creation can have an audience. And so I just think that the creators are smarter now, in the sense of they realize the potential, and they realize, hey, do you know what? We could take it up tenfold. Now, I've literally seen a creator that turned down over $1 million for a 30-second integration because it wasn't about the art, it was about the retention of the video. You know what I'm saying?
Was it Mr. Beast or was it Eric?
Yeah, like Mr. Beast. Like Mr. Beast has turned down more brand deals than any other person than I've ever seen.
I hear
but he's worried about it because he wants the retention of it. Had nothing to do with art, had more to do with going out and leveraging the algorithm. But I think at the end of the day, I think we're just in a different ecosystem now, and a new economy. I don't like the word creator economy as much. It's just the economy, man. Like we have actual businesses that are hiring, and yes, it's in the creator space, but it's crazy when you look at it, just the employees that I have for one of my companies, just one. I mean, right now we have like 300.
Yeah,
just 300. Now it'll whittle down to about 42 when we're not in production, but up to 300. And you look at Mr. Beast, I mean, he's pulling in well over 100 to 150 employees. And so this is like literally establishing.
I understand. I know that, and you know that, but we need like the niche to then legitimize it over the next 10 to 15 years, just like how initially, because 20 years ago when I was in, back in my day, 20 years ago, back when I could have been an entertainment YouTuber. Back in my day, when I was in college back in 2002, 20 years ago, graduated from high school 20 years ago. It's crazy. I said that in 10 years, every company in America will need a website and will want a website and will not feel legitimate without one. My professors mocked me, laughed at me. I went crying home about it because they literally embarrassed me in front of the class over this statement that I made. And I turned out to be right. But back in that time, being a web designer was not considered a career and a valid profession. They didn't even have a degree for it yet until like 4 years later, if everyone remembers this time. And it's hard to even imagine the idea of anyone dunking on the idea of web design as a legitimate career path now, because we all live on the internet. Now normal people live on the internet, but 20 years ago, that wasn't the case.
Yeah,
creators,
I think the only difference,
creators is the same thing. It's like going to give it a little bit time.
Yeah, I think the only difference is you look at the number one occupation on kids' minds that are in elementary, middle school, high school, and it's either a TikToker, which it is, or a YouTuber. It's like I want this.
100%.
And so
That's why 5 to 10 more years for the Z guys for normal people to acknowledge it properly.
Yeah, I know we're not going to debate on this, but like I think it's faster. I think we're in it now. Like I really do. I like the things that the money that is here is very
100 billion a year.
Yeah,
100 billion a year and climbing.
Yeah,
100
very,
billion a year
very
and climbing.
serious.
100 billion is the low ball. That's the low ball.
I just think that the people that don't take the opportunity literally need to take a step back and realize how much can we further our content creation if we had some monetization. So like with Paul, for example, like he can make a ton more money in multiple different ways, but he's really passionate about what he does. He has visions of what he wants to do. He's a creator. He wants to create, and he's done some pretty amazing things. And I've been able to see his income increase. And he's going to get to a point when he really, really starts to focus in other ways to start leveraging other people to help him. That's when it's going to take off. You know, when it's just more than just him and his wife, it's just going to be like, it's going to just really take off because Paul will do what Paul does best, which is create, you know? And I think that's what, if anyone really will take a step back and look at how effective you can be when you actually have people helping you. That's when you start. I think he starts shifting more to the business side of things.
Agreed, 100%.
I think
I'd love your thoughts. We haven't heard much from you tonight.
Yeah, I was just going to say I think that to answer the original question about the starving artists, I feel like there are still starving artists because there's a really difficult decision where you have to make. You have to decide to do the thing you need to do instead of the thing that you want to do. And that is a really difficult decision for a lot of artists and creatives to make because there is a sense of, and it's not selling out necessarily. I mean, that's a factor of it for some people, but there's also the idea of, am I tainting the integrity of my work? Am I ruining my art piece, for example? And there comes a time where they have to make that decision, where they have to decide like, oh, I'm going to actually do this thing. I'm going to use the keywords because I know that the algorithm likes when I use proper keywords, instead of being, weird and artsy and make it really, really difficult for the algorithm to find my videos. And making those small choices is what makes a huge difference. So for me, the shift really happened. So it's funny because I've talked to you, Roberto, about it before. There was a time where I wanted to start transforming my channel and take it more seriously as a form of revenue. I always thought about it as a lead magnet, and I wanted that to just funnel for stuff that I was doing offline. But I really saw the potential of actually making my channel the source of income. And it was at that point that I discovered Roberto. And that was when I started to watch his videos. And he had a bunch of videos where he broke down.
He probably yelled at you too, right?
Oh, well, this was like I was a fly on the wall. I was watching
money now.
Oh, he was yelling at me through the fourth wall.
Make money. Make money.
So he had a lot of tip videos where he really broke down like the things that I needed to apply on my own videos. And I took everything that he said word for word, even if I hated it, even if I was like, this is really stupid. Like, I feel so dumb, right? Like, it's just, it feels a little bit silly and ridiculous. But when I applied all of those notes, and I did every single one, even the ones that I hated, I grew my channel by 300%. Like it was overnight, basically. Because like from 1 week to the next, I had a video that nobody had seen and was suddenly now like it was being featured on news articles and blogs. And it was just because I made a tiny shift in the way that I was approaching the content creation. But I took the advice, right? I took the advice that I was given, even though it wasn't directly at me because Roberto wasn't looking at my channel, but I
Right.
took the advice that I found online.
Well, that's a quality of a successful person, is someone who's coachable. Someone who's
Mhm.
coachable will be more successful. And Daryl's right about something he always says, because you just pointed out, small tweaks.
Yeah.
Yep. It's always the small
Mhm.
things.
Let me address something, because it's like one of those things that just I get irritated a lot by, and it's something that I want everyone that's watching this live stream or watching the replay that they need to understand. If you are creating for yourself and there's no value proposition for the viewer, then don't expect more than one view.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Like this
Yeah.
is really important.
100%.
And it's like, it's something that I believe to the core. It's like, you can't get more in depth on this. If you actually are thinking about who's going to view this, and you look at basically how they're going to respond to your content, and you're thinking about it right from the title, the thumbnail, the hook, the engagement, in through the video, the storyline, your CTA, and then what they need to watch next. If you're thinking about all those things, then you're actually bringing value to someone instead of just putting out your art that you and your mom only like.
Yeah.
And so it's like, at the end of the day, for people that complain to me about not getting the views, they're really not thinking of the viewer. And so Paul knows this because we've worked together for a while now, and we were just on a group consulting meeting, and I was just really ranting on knowing your audience. And there's creators that even when they hear that, they go and create and they think, oh, this is gonna be an amazing thing because so and so said to do this or whatever. But yet when you break it down, they don't know who their audience is. And when you don't make a piece of content for your audience, don't expect it to take off.
Mm-hmm.
And if it does take off, it's probably bringing the wrong audience that you don't even want to watch.
I say that views are about value for the viewer. Views are what create value. And I say that quality and value are two different things, because everyone says, oh, make quality content. But that's not what gets you views. It's the person who understands their audience best is who will get views and will win, because they understand the value that the viewer wants. Quality is then retention. Views are acquisition.
Right.
Value is acquisition. So value in the real world, by the way, value is acquisition. Quality, which is experience, the experience you have of something or someone. Quality is retention. So you win attention, you win acquisition on value, and you retain on quality, and then you scale on consistency. And that's like what I've always believed to be true, because it's a truism of business. And when I trick creators into thinking like business people and starting a business, because that's all my goal is. My goal is to inevitably trick all of these artists into becoming business people.
Well,
like,
they need to.
and I think one interesting
trick you
thing
all into
with
becoming Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah.
Before I die, I will make all of you into Scrooge McDuck, and you'll thank me later.
You'll thank you later. But I think it's interesting. Like, I've come from the restaurant industry and like managing hotels and like delegating. So I'm actually in the process of learning how to delegate more. We're creating content that I can actually utilize an editor for, so that way I can create more. I have very big projects planned for next year that require a lot of income. So the whole starving artist thing, it's like generate income the best way you can and then utilize that to create new projects. So it almost feels like, as someone who likes to create, I'm only trying to make money so I can create more. Like we don't even have a car payment. Like we have like, I have like a 20-year-old Highlander sitting outside that belongs, no joke, to my in-laws. That's what we use, right? Because I'm like, no, let me put that into an editor, whatever it is. But what I've also realized, especially like working with Daryl, is that YouTube, and I think you guys probably agree on this, is YouTube is a service industry. It's that's what it is. You're serving someone, an audience.
I call it content as a service,
right? And I kind of equate this, and I'll probably use it in a talk coming up soon. Is I equate it to you're just feeding people what they want, right? Like if you go to the food kind of analogy, where you also have to think about the audience. If someone comes to your video and they want tacos, but then you serve them lasagna, the lasagna might be good, but they're not coming back. So you have to kind of think about the audience in that way, where like, no, I came for this specific thing and then it wasn't delivered and then they don't come back.
We go to Ichiraku for ramen.
Restaurant said it says Paul's Tacos.
Yeah.
And there's a big billboard that says Paul's Tacos, and they go in there. We don't serve tacos. We only have his lasagna.
Yeah, we got lasagna.
We go to Ichiraku's for ramen.
Yep.
Nothing else.
Nothing else. You literally go for ramen.
Here's the thing. And when I own a lot of YouTube channels. I don't know if you could figure that out.
You don't say.
And what's interesting is whenever we start new YouTube channels, like usually we start new ones every year and we just kind of grow it and build the team and so on and so forth. So the first conversation that we have is we are an entertainment company.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that mean? We need to entertain people, and we really go through what our value proposition is. Now, you might say, wait, I'm more of a resource channel, and I want to stop you. And I want to say, do you know what? That's not always true, because people aren't doing what you're teaching. When you think that you're a resource channel, you need to look at the data more. And when you get the mindset as like, hey, we're entertaining people. And some people like to see projects done from beginning to the end and see all the step-by-step, but they'll never do the project. They're not coming for the project. They're just coming because they like to watch things progress.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we actually have those conversations, and then two, if we have any talent that's there, it's like your most important job is to see how much screen time you get. The more screen time that you have, the more valuable are to us, and then it's all about retention. It's all about going from there. And so like we harp on it like more than you could ever imagine, because it takes a mindset of shifting to realize, do you know what? Yes, this content creation is great and amazing, and there's so much as a creator that you can do. But at the end of the day, we're trying to bring something of value, whether it's inspiration, whether it's information, whether it's entertainment, for them to consume. But more importantly, we want them to consume even deeper. Because like when you really look at some of the biggest channels on YouTube that get hundreds of millions of video views a month, it all comes back down to people know when they drop a video that it's going to be entertaining. And you look at, if you think that it's a resource channel, look at Mark Rober. He's teaching you science, and it's in an entertaining way. And he gets a lot of views because people know it's a Mark Rober video and it's going to be extremely valuable, and they're going to share it. And that's the way it is.
Well, the person in our space that I would consider has gone in like that direction is our friend Ed from Film Booth. Ed from Film Booth, I think, is making the most entertaining YouTube education, creator education content, and he's using every trick in the book in terms of making an entertaining and informative video. And it reminds me of kind of like the stuff that I used to watch on PBS as a kid. Now that I think about it, like the way they would teach you on PBS as a kid was very entertainment before edutainment exists, but it was like it's very that, but you still actually learned and retained and absorbed it, because there's people like me walking around today more than 30 years later that remember things from PBS Kids that we watched on different shows. And I think about that, and I've been thinking about that a lot, about the education space. And I think it's interesting that you bring that up. I don't consider myself an entertainer, except I only entertain in one way, being sarcastic. And
But I'm telling you, that's like, come on, you just like people know, they know your personality, and when your personality comes out, that's where the entertainment is, even when you're the most dry. It just is. But with Ed's a student of mine. He crushes it and really understands what I teach. And what's really important is just like really looking at how do we get people to stay on our videos. And where are they dropping off? And it's like, oh, if I do this, then it's going to keep people in there. And then that's kind of tools in your arsenal as a creator to realize, hey, if you do this, you have a higher probability of this happening. And if you consistently do it, it's magic. And so here's an assignment for anyone that wants an assignment. Like, this is one of the coolest things ever. But go take 4 Mark Rober videos and put them in screen and then play, and you'll watch that it's pretty much scientific. Exactly. The music's gonna be the same at the same time. The set is gonna be the same.
I've done this.
Literally, it's crazy. But it's like, even though that people have that pattern, it feels comfortable to them because it's a Mark Rober video, right? But it's the same pacing, same natural progression of things. And so that's where the science comes in, along with the creation. And I think, as creators, we need to take and not be afraid of data, because data helps us understand. It helps us understand what our creation, the impact that it has. And as we consume it, it's going to make you a more powerful creator. And I look at Mr. Beast as one of them, and we could talk this forever, but like the amount of energy that he put in early on of understanding the audience and what retention looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he just was on the quest to make the best video and the biggest video. But you take someone like Matthew Beam, and like he you know, reached out way long ago, only had 100 subscribers. We did a consult, put a plan together, and, you know, from there. And what was really interesting to see his path, he literally went on sabbatical for a little while. He built up some videos and stuff like that. And all he did was consume videos and look for patterns. And he was like literally going and seeing how many adjectives were used in a Mr. Beast video, how many adjectives were used in an Iraq video. That is dedication to see, hey, okay, so these adjectives are being used. How do I apply it in mine? Because it's a lot more personal in their videos versus what I'm doing. And once he did that, I mean, his video started taking off.
I did something absurd, and I recommended, and it's been working for a lot of my students. I plugged more than 200 videos into a spreadsheet in terms of their titles alone, and then ran them through the readability score. And found that like a bunch of the biggest videos on YouTube at any given month have the title has a 3rd to 5th grade reading level or lower, and the ones that perform the best have the lowest reading level in terms of age and the highest readability score almost every single time. That's the pattern. So
I've definitely seen that.
So if you have a title and you can get the readability to where you can get it to where you don't have to be smarter than a 5th grader, the video performs better every time. Like, and it's so weird, right?
I think it's the natural state that we're
really
in
weird,
while we're.
though? But is it really weird though?
Is it just because it makes it easier to consume content?
I don't think it's that. It's like you have to think about. So this is something that I've thought about with. Like,
I was saying it's weird how consistently it plays out to be true.
And I think it's how we all consume YouTube, right? Usually on mobile for the most part, looking at data, whatever it is. Sometimes it's on TV or whatever you're using. But like the human, like you're going to have your phone and you're going to be doing this, right? You're going to look for a title, whatever it is. So your brain is working at like a 3rd grade reading level. Like it doesn't matter how educated you are. So the easier it is
because you're on autopilot.
Yeah, you're on autopilot.
Right. It makes it easier to consume the content because it's faster to read. It's faster to understand.
I've even seen that with my titles. The shorter I make them and as concise as possible, even trying to reword some things, I'm like, oh, the video does better. Right. Because I'm not trying to make it for like this weird thing that no one's going to watch. I'm like, no, it's just 4 words or 5 words, very easy to understand for my audience, very easy to understand. And then they roll with it.
Well, let me go a little bit deeper on this. Cause like, it's not that I've spent thousands of hours on this one little subject, but I have.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. It's just like, you got to look at it from human nature, and human nature is how easy is the video title used to be able to talk to someone. If it's super complicated, then it's hard for them to share what the nature of the video is. But if it was like, I ate the world's largest pizza, it's a Mr. Beast title, right? Okay. This is the litmus test that I always use. Hey, have you ever seen that Mr. Beast video where he ate the largest pizza? Like they literally just said the title, and it's really easy to share with someone. And believe it or not, the biggest YouTubers, they get it. It's like, hey, have you seen this video? And then fill in the blank, like fill in the title. And if it's so complicated that they can't understand it, then you need to rephrase your title. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's about water cooler conversations. Now, water cooler conversations like is back at like a 90s term or whatever.
Yeah.
But when I was 8, I wanted to create Super Bowl commercials. Like I went on a quest. And then when Saturday Night Live came out and I was watching that, I was like, man, I really love these skits. And I'm like, this is it. And then when I came to YouTube, I'm like, all I want to do is get people to talk about my content at school and at work. Like that's what I want. And 87 billion video views later, it's like at the end of the day, it's like simplicity sells. Yeah. And if you can make it so that people want to share it naturally and it's easy to share, we're talking verbally, easy to share, then you win every single time. Have you seen Roberto's video where he is fill in the blank? It's just, that's where they're going to be looking for it. That's the keywords they're going to be using it. It's going to be pulling up, it's easy to translate. And so I think that's kind of the art of content creation is content creation starts with the title and thumbnail. It does. And if you just think
100%.
it's the artwork that it's just there, I think you're really missing the most important thing is you have to advertise it in a way to pull people in with that curiosity, to pull them into what your creation really is.
I agree 100%. The stuff that you said is true, because the easier something is to understand, the easier it is to click on in terms of the views. And that's what I mean about, okay, the value proposition. That is like, okay, if I'm something easy to access and understand and that feeds my need, desire, curiosity right now, that's high value to me. I haven't clicked on it yet, so I don't know what the quality is, but I value that enough to give it a shot. Then that first 30 seconds, obviously the first 8 to 10 seconds really, but like out of that, you still aggressively edit the first 30. And then that's where the expression of quality is like, you've passed through my filter. You can retain me. Okay, I'm 30 seconds in. I'm too lazy to click off now. And that's if you could pass muster of like, all right, 10 seconds, 10 seconds. I'm sorry, it's still good. All right.
Is it laziness though, or you're like, hey, this is pretty good, and we'll give it another minute and a half? You know.
Did I say the word lazy?
Too lazy to click off.
I'm too lazy to click off. It's like, well, part of it is like, because I relate this back to like, you remember when you were back in the day when we all used to gather around the idiot box, the idiot box.
I think I've seen this happen with big channels, right? Like we've all been watching YouTube for a long time, and one channel, I'm just going to call him out on it, Linus Tech Tips, right? I've been watching him since he was working for, I think it was NCIX or something, right? He was working for another company.
Yeah, something like that,
right? And if you really look at his content, because it's like I try to study YouTube. If you really look at his content over the past maybe 8 months, you see these like hype, like banger intros, like he's just doing crazy stuff. Things are on fire, whatever. After like 15 seconds, and it's just Linus like talking about how to install something on a computer. Usually it's an interesting subject, but those first 15 seconds, his team's not dumb. Like he has 80 people or whatever working for him on this kind of stuff, and you see it like happening with multiple channels.
I moved my retention from 35% to 55% on most of my latest videos just by doing this, and I've been recommending it. And that's with the editing, but I found something else is true even without aggressive editing. Wait for this. So I did an experiment. I've been doing my highlights channel, and my highlights channel, which I do not market, promote, plug, push any external traffic. I let YouTube algorithm do all the work. And that's why 92% of all of the views on every video are from the YouTube homepage. So what happens on those videos is they all get a 55 to 75% retention no matter what. And they're 1 to 5 minute videos, and they're not shorts. Here's the catch. The videos are no fluff. There's no intro and there's no outro, and they all start abruptly and they all end abruptly. And all it is clips from my stage presentation talks and my one-to-one interviews with people. And it's 1 to 4 minutes, and every single video gets no less than 55 to 75% or greater retention on every time, because there's no intro and there's no outro. Here's the worst part. We let YouTube pick the thumbnails. We didn't design any thumbnails. We let YouTube pick the thumbnails, and it still does that because there's no clickbait. And I did this, and we post every single day at noon, and we've done that for 45 days straight, and the results have been consistent every time. And the thing that's cool about this data is that it's not that the videos are going viral or blowing up or anything, but it's just steady progress. But we're not even using every single trick in the book at all. But the main thing is that the viewers who do click on these videos are satisfied enough because none of their time is wasted, and they retain 55 to 75%, which is well above average for those 1 to 4 minute videos by far. And the cool thing is it's not even using a thumbnail that's optimized for any attention grabbing. It's only 2 things, the topic and the title, because we eliminated the thumbnail, and we post every day at noon the same time. So we eliminated timing as a variable. All it is topic and title, and that can tell you a lot. And this is a 360 subscriber channel. It has videos that have 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 6,000 views on it for some of these videos.
So I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you on something. Just I want to challenge you on something. You got 45 days of data, right?
Yeah.
45 days now. Do a thumbnail on it. And
we're gonna do it at 50. We'll do it at 50.
Whatever. Just 15 and 50.
Yeah.
One of the things that you got to look at too is, and I love Browse Feature. Like I'm a huge fan of Browse, but it's like, can we get in the habit of getting things suggested? And there's 2 ways to do that. But by just changing the thumbnail, I'll bet you get at least 300% more visibility.
I don't doubt it at all.
And so you'll be able to say, hey, I got 50 videos here and 50 videos there.
That was that. Yeah.
Because the biggest thing that I found is take a subpar, and when you let YouTube pick, that's not always a bad thumbnail. I'm not saying that it's a bad thumbnail.
A lot of these are.
But even in making it a little bit better, because I mean they have some AI to figure stuff out like that. But even just getting a 2% or a 3% higher click-through rate will actually go out to more people. It just does. And
facts.
And then two, the thing about it is the nature of your content. If it's easy to consume, which is like sub 2 minute, YouTube knows, oh, they've just watched 3 videos from this creator in the last 7 days. So when you post something else, it's going to give you more visibility in other places. If they didn't watch it, if they skipped, if they came to YouTube and it was a video that you released 2 days ago, well, it's going to show up in suggested videos. And so like that right there is a really big key. But I do believe if you just change it, if you just tweak that one thing, you're going to see a higher increase. And I know that you know how to do amazing thumbnails. I just think it should be something where it's a little bit more of your face head on, with something in the background that you could be illustrated that you're on stage. It's fine. But I'll bet you you'll actually see a way bigger increase on that, and you'll have data here and data there.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be night and day difference, because it's like,
oh, I don't doubt it. It's a great experiment, though.
Yeah, if there's one thing that I found and this is doing A/B testing before, like literally for 8 years.
Right.
And we used to do it with ads just to see like human nature. And I'm always shocked of what people pick. And I have a pretty good sense of what thumbnails work, but you'd be shocked to see what actually works. I was actually on with my team and we were going through just our highest performing videos. And they're like, I'm like, why did this thumbnail hit? And the person's like, well, Jesus is in sunglasses. I go, absolutely right. Because I just grabbed it in, Jesus in sunglasses, what's going on here? That's a curiosity factor. And then it goes from there. So it's just like, you're never like, once you get it down, I think it really helps you know how to anticipate your creation. And with that data, that's going to be great. So I can't wait to see that. Hopefully you'll share that data with all of us.
Yeah, no, that's the plan. I shared a lot in Twitter, and like I love the idea of doing experiments where it's like, okay, let's see 50 days, let's say 50 and 50, let's see 30 and 30, let's see 10 and 10. I like these things because one of the reasons I wanted to do this with this highlight channel is like, okay, one, can we get purely algorithmic traffic as a small YouTube channel and debunk it by saying, okay, we've uploaded every day for 45 days and we got pure algorithmic traffic, no promotion, no Twitter, no YouTube channel pages, no just like letting YouTube do all the work. And then without any of my big advantages as an experienced creator, can we get anywhere? Can we get anywhere? And it wasn't even just about upload every day as a thesis. It's like I have conclusive data that eliminates so many other variables like timing and this and that, and you can see a level of baseline consistency in results to where I can answer a lot of small YouTubers' criticisms and myths about YouTube and their superstitions around the algorithm. And even if you don't have design chops, okay, well, can you carry a video with just the topic and title selection? And
no, I think it's a really great experiment that you're doing too, because I've seen the comments that people leave you sometimes, and there's like this whole, but like, you already have like X amount of subscribers. Like,
you mean every excuse.
Right, exactly. And it's like, well, every creator has to start somewhere. Every business has to start somewhere. And sometimes you do start at a higher level, but most businesses start at a lower level. Most businesses start at 0. Most people start with 0 subscribers. And the idea of pushing that experiment further and being like, okay, is the topic enough to carry this channel? Are the titles and is the metadata enough to make this channel grow? And I think that is an awesome experiment, and I can't wait to see more about that.
Let me show you this play button right there. That one right there. Let's see. That one right where the StreamYard's at. So you see the StreamYard? We did 6 months of testing on the content. Like we literally just I was so anal with this. It was like, hey, we're really going to focus in on the whole retention of the video. They're like 20-minute videos, and we're just like really getting it down. We threw away probably 50 videos that never saw the light of day. We're trying to get the right type of balance for it. And we finally got to a place where I'm like, okay, we are ready to go. Let's do this. This is February 2020. February 2020, and we launched it. 28 days, zero following, zero like there's no person on camera. It's just a VO. 28 days, got a gold play button, and it was just like when you truly understand people and where they find value, and you understand how to put your creation together, you can do some pretty amazing things. Because what YouTube's really good at is pattern recognition. Right. And that's why and Paul will attest to this. It's like I harp, like you don't want the wrong traffic. You know, you want to have the right traffic, and then you gotta understand who that is. So when you're making that creation, YouTube knows what to do, because as soon as they know what to do, it takes off. I have a student that it just crushed it this last year, and this year, and he comes from the entrepreneur space, and he has a huge email list, and he has a huge following. And I says, you cannot email your email list. You cannot promote this on social media. You absolutely cannot buy ads. And I says, I want you to create content. And when I'm watching your YouTube videos, you're a little flat, because I seen you on stage and you rock it on stage. So when you record a video, I want a live audience that you can get that instant feedback that makes you the stage presence, person. And he goes, Daryl, I'm paying you a lot of money, and I will do exactly what you tell me to do. And I says, well, there's one other thing. I says, I want you to do live streams. And he spent 13 years of doing about 300,000 views and got 10,000 subscribers. Those 10,000 came from him doing a push to his email list.
Right.
In 2 months, he got to 175,000 subscribers, just 2 months. Okay. Yeah. And he got well over 6 figures. It was like $148,000 in AdSense. And he had a 2,228% increase in books sold. And then he had an 87% increase in his highest mastery selling course conversion rate. And he says the people were so qualified when they got there because they know, love, and trust me now.
Yeah.
And
it was the right audience.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
It's like YouTube found your audience. Yep. And he scaled it. And it was so good that when you had an offer, even though it wasn't an offer, it wasn't in the video pushing them off, but you had it there available, you had a 2,000% increase. Like,
and
why
I think
would you want that?
That goes to the audience again. And I know you like drill this into us. And I put everything on the back end with YouTube. What was really interesting, I had a very great last like 28 days where YouTube had pushed a bunch of my videos, right? But I only have what I call the anime side of it, like about 20 videos in that bucket. Technically, that's like focused on that subject, because this is what Daryl has told me. Those 20 videos outperformed the other 145 that were like more cooking oriented about anime by like 4 million views in 90 days to like 800,000 views for the 100. So 20 videos doing 4 million views versus 145 videos doing 800,000 views. And it's like YouTube has said, no, this is your audience, but you only have 20 videos to give them. So it's like, when you know your audience, I can only imagine had those other 145 videos been targeting this audience that like YouTube has said, this is what belongs to you. Like, this is who you're serving, what that could have been. Right. That would have bought my food truck, like just throwing it out there. Like that push.
Would you mind? Because there was like an aha moment for you. And I think everyone on here would be able to do it, because you thought the value proposition of your videos was one thing. And then I yelled at you for a little bit. I says, it's not that. But would you kind of explain that? Because like as soon as people get that, that's when you grow. Like you just grow every single time. It's no surprise that Paul's growing, because he had the wrong thought of what the value proposition was.
Yeah, and I thought when I first started my channel, I thought it was, people just want to see, this food from a show or a video anime or a game like be remade. And that was kind of like the binging with Babish style, and that there's a lot of those channels. But what, you know, Daryl and I had talked about is that no, it's really about the fandoms and like the show behind the thing. So like the
Yes.
anime in this case. One of my more recent videos has been like trying to like dive into a character that everyone knows and loves and like live out their day. And then food is a secondary story element within that video. So it's no longer, and now I've given a lot of thought to how these videos play out, where now the kitchen, I call it the lab. It's a character in my video. It's not the primary character anymore. Right now I have like the den where I go up and do my research for the character. And then maybe I'm going and visiting, you know, a gym that the character may have used. And it's like trying to really think about what everyone on Reddit would be talking about for this character and translate it into a video. For better or worse, you know, you're going to have people who say, and I know the comments that are going to happen because I am my audience, right? I've been watching anime since I was 3, right?
Same.
Where now I think, okay, as soon as I post this video, I'm going to get so much crap about this thing happening because you're going to have people who come in and say, no, that's not how this is supposed to be, blah, blah, blah. And I already know it's going to happen. So that I call it out in the video, right? Before the comments can come through.
And how afraid were you to make that step? Because I mean, here you had 150 videos of, hey, I'm going to cook. We're going to do cooking stuff to go this completely different direction.
Yeah,
like,
it was pretty nerve-wracking because my whole life has been growing up like as a chef, as a cook. Right. And so that's what I thought needed to be translated to video. And as soon as like I had realized, I was like, no, there's enough of that. I want to do this thing and just like show my love for these things that I love. Right. Where I have like I have like Chun-Li on my water bottle, right? Like I have a Pikachu tattoo that's dressed as Goku on my arm, right? Like that's just what I am, right? It's like it's like there's like a bunch of Pokemon stuff behind.
He's not talking about.
We won't talk about those yet. Maybe we'll see those one day. But like when I really started to piece it together and like what I grew up with, I'm like, okay, there's a way of expressing my love for those characters that other people would appreciate that is not being done. So YouTube has found that audience. And if you go and look at the back end, like analytics side, where there's no more cooking channels that are recommending my content for the most part. There's a few, but they're entertainment heavy channels versus DIY or resource channels, right? Now there's a lot of anime channels that are that's the audience that I want, because like in the grand scheme of things, like as the business side of it, I want my own convention or to be heavily involved in conventions, right? Where it's no longer really just about the food or whatever. It's really about paying homage to these characters. And that was the big breakthrough for me. And what I saw last month was, okay, cool. I pay myself very little for my channel. And now I'm like, okay, we have this chunk of change from AdSense. It's literally all being reinvested into content next year. You know, like just because I want to make bigger and bigger content for this audience that obviously is there. And so now we just have to build out the library. So my journey has been very different. Food truck. Yes, my journey has been very different.
Is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
But I will say, for anyone who's like trying to build a channel, if you guys are listening to this, really like don't even I'm going to be the person to say, don't even start your channel until you figure out your audience, right? Figure out your restaurant, figure out your restaurant, what you want to serve and who you're serving it to. If you want to make Mexican food, you better damn well serve Mexican food. If you're a lasagna place or Italian place, why are you serving, you know, burritos? It doesn't make any sense. Figure out your restaurant and build it out and then launch, right? Otherwise, you're going to fall into my problem where I started doing like reaction content for anime. And then Daryl was so pissed when I deleted 10 million views and like 100 videos, like just deleted.
You were figuring yourself, you know, I have to give you props, man. You're the chef who used the restaurant analogy to talk about YouTube channels.
To me, it's like the easiest thing to compare it to. It is. You know, I really think it's like the most down to earth comparison.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you found your community. You realized, well, I mean, your community found you. Yeah. But you realized who your community was with the help of other people.
Exactly. It was definitely not on my own.
Yeah. So, well, and all of this, like even some of the stuff that Daryl was saying a few minutes ago, I think it all goes back to what Roberto was saying like 30 minutes ago, which was being coachable, being able to help yourself and allow other people to help you. Even if it's indirectly. And I think that's like a huge takeaway from this conversation.
Incredibly important. It's incredibly important. I think if you're not coachable, you're going to have a hard time with anything.
Yes.
the YouTube side.
Yeah, let me address something, because like I've been around the block a few times, and I bring on partners for different companies and channels, and they're usually creators, or they will be creators. And we go through a cycle of where I don't want to nitpick them. I feel like the creator needs to learn how to create, and they need to be able to get to a point. And we partnered up with this channel in December, and they're probably like 300,000 subscribers right now. But they hit the wall where it's like they finally submit to learn now. Because like before it was like pushing back or whatever, and I've always found that creators normally will do that. And there will be a point where they submit and say, look, I need to learn. And I do believe anyone that it wants to have long-term sustainability, you need to have a portion of your day where you become the student. I'm telling you, I am a student first, and I want to learn as much as I can, and I want to pass that on to people. But the moment that you realize that you're not all that, and you can take a step back and you can learn something, that's when you win. And I'm telling you, it doesn't need to be as difficult as a lot of these content creators make it. I see some people, it's like insane that they make it more difficult. I want to give you one example. And this guy's passed now, but really good friend of mine was the king of random. And, he amazing creator. And I was all talking to him, and he's like, man, I'm just exhausted. And I'm like, well, let me go through your production cycle. And I go, dude, you're spending like 3 months on a video. Like, why are you even doing that? And he's like, well, that's what people want. I'm like, not really, not really, and he's like, and Grant's amazing. And he says, no. And he pushes back. And I says, well, let's have you do a collab, because I need you in front of the camera, because you can't be behind the camera, because I think people, because he was really mad that no one knew his face. I says, well, you're not even in your videos. Like, how are you going to do that? So he went in front of the camera, and he had a collab with What's Inside, and What's Inside got a video done in less than 8 hours. It was just like, okay, 8 hours. And it was like the light bulb went off, and he goes, oh my gosh, he gets a lot more views than I'm getting, and he got his video done in 8 hours. What can I do in maybe 2 or 3 days? And so after that, he literally refined the process to go there, and was able to do it on that level. And his channel just took off. It just went, because he's in front of the camera. He was teachable. And he realized that all the effort and energy he was putting in the videos, no one really cares about, even though that he did. It's just more, hey, what's a great video? What's a great story? And what goes along? And it went a long way. And then this is probably the biggest heartbreak for me. He actually moved down by me. He's my neighbor. And he about 6 months before he did, he says, Daryl, I need your help once again. He goes, I need to take myself out of my YouTube channel. Let's come up with a strategy. And so I helped him come up with a strategy of how to introduce guests, hosts, basically, and then kind of take over. And I says, you got to realize this is like hard to do. And he says, yeah, but he goes, I just want to take a step back. And so we did a plan. And what was amazing from it, and it just like, it really tears me apart, but he moved down here, kind of retired again, and had things going. And then he had a tragic accident and died. But his wife was able to actually keep the money coming in, and the system was working without Grant. And he actually had that all set in play. And it was one of the most humbling consults that I was able to do, to see the impact of it. And it's still providing jobs and opportunity without Grant, because he was able to systematize his creation. He's able to systematize his ability to his art. And he was able to interject people in it so that they were able to pull off a lot of the stuff, the heavy lifting that he was able to do. And to this day, it's just like, I mean, it's sad that it happened, but I'm glad that he was able to do that, because if he didn't do that, that channel wouldn't be where it's at today. So
exactly. And it leaves a living legacy for him, and it still provides for his family to this day, and provides jobs for other people, and provides joy and science to people to this day. And that's a great, and that's a tremendous thing. One of the reasons I think about this, and I think about like, I saw Grant at Social Media Marketing World a little bit before what had happened. And there was even an animate, I think vidIQ did an animate my life about Grant about 2 weeks before it happened. And I was texting him, I was congratulating on that. And it's like, and it was one of those events that really sobered me up about the idea of like not being here one day and like, well, what's your legacy? What outlives you? What's your contribution, and how does it provide for people, and how does it do for people? And then you and I both have left a very permanent legacy, Daryl, in the fact that we've both now written books.
Yeah.
And that's, I think I've encouraged more people to do that. It's very cathartic to know that when you're gone, your words remain, your ideas remain, your philosophies remain. And, there will obviously be people, you're a father, I'm not, unfortunately, that where you have, people after you that carry on your legacy and speak about you and remember you and everything like that. But I think a lot of creators do not consider longevity and how they will be remembered. And I think there is a such thing as like, we see a lot of young creators today, pushing envelopes, pushing boundaries, but they're not considering that a reputation has to last a lifetime.
Yeah. Well, and I hope that they come to Vid Summit, because that's what will open their eyes to
100%.
that reality. It's because like realistically, even in your top prime, you have 5 to 7 years. That's it, And so what can you do? What can you do to build things outside of YouTube that will go from there? And, you're going to have billionaires coming out of YouTube because they're leveraging it the right way. They're smart,
I think that goes back to our discussion earlier about the whole starving artist thing, right? Like, unless, and I know we've talked about a lot of things since then, but the starving artist thing is still like in my head, because you can be creating, for 30 years, but it's like, are you going to be doing that for 30 years? Like Daryl just said, you have 5 to 7 years realistically as a creator on any of these platforms. And what I have seen and what I've really been paying attention to are, everybody pays attention to like what Mr. Beast is doing and a lot of the other creators, or like Mark Rober and stuff.
Ryan Trahan. Yeah.
Right. Ryan Trahan, but he's actually not an example in this case, right? For me, I look at the creators who are starting businesses outside of content, right? And that to me is like actual legacy, where Beast Burger can exist without Jimmy, right? It pretty much, it will eventually, right? Or Mark Rober's the thing he just released, it's like the box for kids, like they can put stuff that can exist without him.
Prime
can exist without that. To me is where you go from starving artist and investing, like you keep yourself $50,000 a year, keep your costs low, whatever you got to do, and reinvest that money to eventually say, hey, you know what, for me, my goal is to have this convention and I want it to be around for 25 or 30 years, like Anime Expo.
Yeah.
And it gives people jobs and it gives people a lot of joy to be there. But like, you can do that in this creator space, but like the steps to get there have to be on par.
I've been thinking a lot about that. And I'm looking at a lot of different things. Romina knows I'm looking at creator real estate and being able to own what will become the content houses in Atlanta, because I know that it'll be an industry that is around, but that's a different way to leverage real estate than the traditional model, because there's a lot you can do if you own the content houses, but you own a management system around the content houses in terms of providing concierge services to the creators, so that they don't have to focus on house maintenance and upkeep and those type of things, and that there's resources for them, or even some built-in HR mechanism for them to help them, keep their nose clean, so to speak. So there's a future and stuff like that. I think about it all the time. I think about, what would it be like to maybe be part of a software appliance in the future of some kind? If somebody, whether I make it or somebody else makes it and I get in on it, or what is it like to, just have a bunch of money in your cash reserves to be an angel investor in the next creator economy startup? Like there's, I
interesting.
Think about that all the time.
Yeah. And I think that not everyone needs to be a creator, because like we had talked about earlier, like all these kids want to be YouTubers or TikTokers or whatever. But I'm like, a lot of the bigger creators can't function without their backbone, like the people behind them. And I think we need the infrastructure. I think it's such a miss. Not everyone needs to be on camera, right? You don't think about Night Media, like Reed, right? How much does Reed actually do? It's probably an insane amount. How much Daryl actually does on the back end without what we actually see, right? Or like any of these big channels where people need to know that you can be involved in all of this, but it doesn't mean you have to be on camera if you don't want to. You don't have to be the creator, but you can help the creator function. And I think that's going to be a huge part.
Do you think that a lot of it is not knowing any better, or do you think that some of it's vanity? Because I've seen some people that struggle as small creators and they get frustrated, they get angry, they lash out. And the thing is, because they have this tremendous editing talent, but that's the extent of their talent. That's their peak, and that's the only thing they have. And it takes more than being a good editor, and more than even just being able to write good scripts to be a successful content creator.
Right.
Like Marquez Brownlee equates it to 8 arms of the octopus. Right. And a lot of these people, they have 2, they have 3, and they're very good at that, but they don't have the rest. They're not coachable for the rest, and they don't have a network and would not be cooperative to work with people as a team. Shouldn't some of those people step back, let their ego go, and say, I might be a really great number 2 or number 3, like a Hayden Hiller Smith, and be like one of the greatest editors in the YouTube community or something like that. And I don't have to be on camera right now, maybe one day. But what if I just worked on being a great editor and helping grow one of the biggest YouTube channels of all time?
I think that's a very awesome thing.
Well, I look at it, and I think you bring up a really interesting point. So I have 5 kids, and I don't like to tell them, what they want to do for their occupation. And during their high school years, they'll come and work at the company, but they don't work for me. They work for, I'm not even the president of my own company. It's just like they work for the president. But I have one of them that's like, Dad, I get what you do, and I want to do what you do. And he goes, because it's like, you're the strategist. You come in, you get money, you bring in money, you raise money, you get more eyeballs on things. And I want to learn the science. And so, like, for 2 years, he was putting together my audits, and that's what he just audit. And then he'd have to translate transcribe every one of my, my consulting. He's really smart, and we were actually living next to Mr. Beast, and, because Mr. Beast bought us a house, but we'd go over and talk strategy, and Jimmy's like, dude, I want to hire you. Like, I want to hire you. Like, no, you can't hire my son. He works for me. Like, just leave him alone. But it's like, at the end of the day, you can make a ton of money behind the scenes. And I'm the first one to prove it. I don't want to tell what I make, but it's pretty nice. And at the end of the day, when you really break it down, if you can really hone your craft of what you're good at and be the best at it, that's what you need to do. And whether it's editing, then guess what? There's a lot of people that need great editors. And I can tell you, I know editors that are making well over $1 million a year because of their edit. They're really, really good at their edit, and they get paid a lot. And I know thumbnail designers that are making well over $500,000 a year on that. And so it's just more hone your craft, own your craft, and go from there. Now, for me, there's so many things outside of editing and outside of thumbnail design that you can be. And one of the things, and this is what I love about, there's people that just get good content. They understand good content. And I believe the biggest opportunity is for ideation. And, bringing the right idea to the right type of people. This is what I've been doing for a very long time, is I come up with ideas and we figure out the elements that are needed, and then somebody creates it, and you step back and you might direct it or you might do whatever, but this industry is literally maturing where the demand is. I'm doing a big consult after Vid Summit with one of the top 1% YouTubers, and they just want to scale to the next level. And part of it was, hey, I need more ideation. And I says, well, you're going to need to pay at least 6 figures, per person to have that happen. And they're like, holy crap. And I says, well, yeah, but if you want something bad, let's pay less, But if you want something good, you're going to need to pay for it. And so anyway, I just think that, take a step back. If you're a creator, you know what? There might be a channel that needs your creation, but you might do it differently, than what you're currently doing it. And maybe that's what you need to do, is partner up. You might need to, synergize. And if you're not really good into business, let's find someone that is, because when you have the yin to the yang, that's when you can actually take it to the level where you need it to be.
I think that's great. Romina, did you have anything to add, or do you think that's a wrap?
No, I think this has been a magical conversation.
Could I reply to one comment that came up?
Please.
Yeah.
People say that, hey, your risk of going into a system, you risk from being a machine, and then two, that
A machine you don't own.
a machine that you don't own, you can be pulled away. When you bring value, there's always equity plays if you're smart, and I always go for an equity play. In fact, it's just like right now, the people want to do a consult with me. I'm sorry, I'll do an equity play. I just won't do anything else. It's just like I just don't.
Yeah.
And the reason why is I got to that level. Have a company that we're getting ready to launch something I'm really, really excited about. Can't go into detail on it. And I says, I need an equity play. And this is all right, let's go for it. And I told them the amount. Like, hey, that's a lot. I says, well, let me tell you the value that I have. You want to reach the audience? Well, they know and love and trust me. And if we do the case studies the way that I do my case studies, it's bound to knock it out of the park. And they're like, oh, okay, I get it. And so, yes, you can do that. And the smart people do. And then two, the smart creators realize, hey, if we're making a lot of money, there needs to be a way to pass it down to the people. Like there needs to be a percentage of something that gives bonuses out. If you saw what the bonuses that Mr. Beast gives his team, it's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. If you saw what he paid me to consult for him for a period of time, it's ridiculous money. But you got to pay good or have some type of equity play or a percentage bonus that you can go from there. So ask for it. That's my only 2 cents. So
no, it makes total sense.
I think that's awesome.
I think that's great.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know how to negotiate, so I think it's really good to it's really good to just plant that seed, let people know that they can ask for things and they can.
And I think as a smaller creator, you can do that now. You don't have to wait till you're making $1 million, $2 million a year.
Oh,
you can make $100K a year, or whatever, $50K a year. And you can offer an editor, say, hey, you know what? I'll pay you X amount of dollars up front to help me edit. And then I'll give you 10% or whatever, 5% of ad set, whatever it ends up being. Give them that ability to free you up. Like you can do that right now as a small creator.
Leverage I thought I needed, or rather all the leverage that I thought 1 million subscribers and a gold play button gives me, I got most of that leverage back at 150,000 subscribers. And I have even more of it now without having 1 million subscribers. I've realized that, I have some leverage that's between the equivalent of what people think you need 1 million to 5 million subscribers to have. And you could just play the game very differently. And a lot of it, to be frank with you, a lot of it happens at Vid Summit. You can get a lot of it.
For anybody who's still listening, Vid Summit is magic.
Hiring at Vid Summit too.
It's the secret sauce. If there's a secret, it's not always. And again, people think I think people have some negative or shady connotation to networking, or you have a network and that's why you're successful. It's like a network is a group of like-minded people working in common cause and supporting each other, and it's allyship and it's camaraderie, and you need that. And the entire society itself has been built and predicated on people working together in common cause and concert towards singular task in a single-minded way, and not undermining each other and working in opposition to each other or being dog eat dog or competitive. Society is entirely built on cooperation, community, camaraderie, and people being able to collaborate. And I think
it literally all comes back to Star Trek. See, you just explained.
Yeah, well, that's how we get to Type 1 That's how we can go Type 1 civilization. Is everyone would have to.
You explain the Federation right there. There we go.
We'd have to work as a species. If we work together, we might discover the secret.
To reinforce that, no joke. Like everyone that I spoke with, it was my first Vid Summit last year. I'm super excited for this year. Everyone that I spoke with at Vid Summit, just the water cooler moments. You're grabbing a coffee. You're talking to someone. Like everyone there that I spoke with had a growth mindset. Everyone was like, oh, what are you doing? Maybe, we could just, even if it's a 5-minute conversation you have with someone.
Didn't I give you like 3 viral videos at Vid Summit?
I think so. Like I remember sitting and just like we were chatting and or you just jump into a conversation, like not to promote Vid Summit, but I will because it's amazing.
We are promoting.
Like okay, because like guys,
come on now.
If you're literally a creator and you have time and you have a couple of weeks, like even if you just go for a day, even if you don't go to any of the discussions, which you should, like just going and grabbing a pastry next to someone and grabbing a coffee and just talking is so powerful, because a lot of us as creators, we're at home, we're talking to our cats. There's no one else here. You're like, that's all you're doing all day. So being in an environment where everyone's trying to help each other is super important.
Oh, facts. 100%. I 100% agree. And here's the thing I'll tell you. Don't think that you can't talk to people because, oh, I'm smaller, I'm this and that and everything. And like the creators I know with over like 10 million subscribers might be some of the most humble human beings I meet. A lot of these creators with 1 million, 10 million subscribers, I've seen them in sessions with people that have 100K, 500K, taking 3 pages of notes. They won't turn their nose up at learning one new thing or somebody's expertise and stuff like that. They don't think that they're too good. They know they can't be good at everything. They know they can't know everything. And again, a lot of the creators you respect and admire, they are where they are because they have a team of people working together toward a singular vision. If they kept doing everything themselves, and if they thought they knew everything, they would still maybe only be at 100K, 500K, a million, 2 million. But you don't really get much further than that if you keep trying to push everything by yourself. And if you're not coachable and if you're not collaborative, and that makes a difference. And like I tell you, as someone who's still not a solo entrepreneur anymore, but still a solo creator very much, my biggest issue, I was going to solve it during the pandemic, but the pandemic caused problems because all of you remember my plan 2 years ago was I'm going to get local people in Atlanta. I'm going to finally build a team of at least 2 to 3 people, have at least maybe 3 legs of the tripod, and let's go. But the pandemic, squashed my plans. Like, it's like, as it happens. But I know that aside from anything Daryl might be able to tell me, that the path from 500, 600K to 1 million plus is doing more with a team and working collaboratively with a team, but also leveraging the other creators that I have relationships with in my network and tapping into their experience, their expertise, not necessarily even their audience, but also the added value of just their presence is powerful enough to add. Because again, I've used the momentum that a single person can do to get this far. Anything beyond this requires a higher concentration of energy than I myself am capable of. That's humility to recognize the value of other people.
You have to be a forever student. You have to be a forever student.
Let me just kind of interject one thing, and I know that we're over, but it's like you got to surround yourself by the right people. And I truly do believe this. And I don't think that you need to have a team to get you to 1 million. I've seen a ton of creators that can do it without a team. Right.
I'm speaking partly for myself.
But more importantly, you got to surround yourself by the right people, and the more data and the more that you can get honest feedback from people that actually understand, the better probability you have to succeed. And then 2, with Vid Summit, one of my dreams was that the keynote would come, and usually keynotes come and they bounce. That's just the way that it is. And my dream was to create a conference that was so valuable that the keynote would go give their keynote, go outside and answer questions for 3 hours, and then go back in to be a student. And that happens at Vid Summit. It literally happens with every presenter, every keynote at Vid Summit. And one of the things I really love is Preston Plays, a friend of mine, who's coming as a keynote, and he says, like, dude, I'd love to be there, but I can only be there for a little bit of the time. And anyway, so he came, did the presentation, and he's just blown away. He's like, dude, this is my conference. These are my people. And he went back in and he was like asking questions and, that whole thing. And then he wanted to stay the whole time. He says, I will never miss a Vid Summit ever again. And it's just because when you're surrounded by the right type of people, and the people at Vid Summit and the people you need to surround, it's like growth mindset, not scarcity mindset. It's all about collaboration, not about you're taking my ball. It's just like, how can we help each other? And it's more about creators helping creators. And so regardless of where your path is on YouTube, you got to find people that will push you to higher limits. And so for me, I always like to surround myself by people that are probably doing better than me, because if I'm doing better than them, I'm not getting as much value. And so it's just like, hey, how can you find that level of partnership? And then 2, if you really go back and learn how Mr. Beast grew, it was 3 YouTubers that talked every day for hours about YouTube and sharing data, and all of them hit about a million subscribers at once. Is that because they were pushing each other's content? Absolutely not. It was about sharing data and being so excited about YouTube that they helped each other say, no, that's a bad thumbnail, or I learned this, or let's do this as a better title. And you're able to really learn and grow together. That's what you need to do. And so for me, when I do it, I do a mentoring program, and I literally turn away 62% of the people that apply, not just because I could take their money and make a ton of money, but I turn them away because I don't like toxicity and I don't like negativity. And if they're negative and they're toxic, you know, I don't care how much money they're going to give me. It's just like, it's not happening. And the reality is, it's like, if you can just surround yourself by the right people, and that starts with your team too. And if you don't have the team, figure out who's going to be your support structure. That will help you make better content than anything else. And then two, keep in mind that your team needs to be the same type of mindset and the same type of, hey, we're students, let's learn together. That's what it's all about.
Yep.
I agree. I think the right character, the right temperament, I think that determines more of success than people will ever give credit to. I know a lot of people like to, oh, luck plays a role in success. It's like good luck or bad luck. Nothing will be more important than your character, your preparation, your judgment, and your confidence and courage to execute on those things. There's no bad situation in life that is improved by cowardice, poor judgment, no preparation, and you know, a lack of character. No situation gets better. It gets worse every time if you have bad luck, and no opportunity that you get will benefit from you lacking confidence, good judgment, preparation, or good character. So at the end of the day, regardless of good luck or bad luck arriving in any situation, your life can only be improved through, you know, your character, your judgment, your preparation, and your confidence and courage to execute. So essentially your personality and temperament will determine your outcomes in life more than anything else, because circumstances outside your control, they will happen. They happen every single day. But who you are as a person is what must remain consistent. You know, the saying goes, he who is faithful in little is faithful in much, right? So that's the real key to success is I keep preaching consistency. Consistency is more than frequency of uploads, my friends. Consistency is about character.
Yep.
Absolutely.
100%.
I think that's a great place to bookend it. I know we said that before, but I want to thank wonderful, esteemed panel. This has been amazing. Yes. And so now we're going to do my announcer voice outro. Thank you for listening to the Assembly Required Podcast, a podcast where we talk about nothing except for the secrets of YouTube success. Join us next week, where hopefully we will have the return of Audrey Ember. In the meantime, thank you to our guest, Daryl, the man that launched 1,000 channels, Eves, and of course, Paul, Chef PK, entertainer extraordinaire, and of course, your hostess with Remostis, Romina with the good hair, and your dark lord of the interwebs, Roberto Blake.
Bruh.
Thank you for listening. We'll catch you next week.
Bye, guys. Have fun.
Up.
Come to Vid Summit.
Come to Vid Summit and buy my book.